What started out in the mid-1800s as a modest 8-room farmhouse in California's Santa Clara Valley has become one of the most recognizable and notoriously mysterious mansions and haunted house attractions in America. The Winchester Mystery House as is known today, the sprawling and incurious Queen Anne revival home, was Rifle heiress Sarah Pardee Winchester's constantly in progress and forever unfinished hobby home that she dubbed a villa in honor of the region's Spanish roots and her love of the Basque Country. As the widow of William Winchester, whose family's company, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, Sarah came into a $20 million inheritance along with 50% ownership in the firearms business. When William died in 1881, that fortune enabled her to transform the humble ranch house to a massive mansion on hundreds of acres, but it also fueled rumors that Sarah built the home to escape the spirits of those killed by the Winchester rifle. Following the deaths of multiple family members, including her infant daughter in 1865, her father in 1869, her mother in 1880, both her father-in-law and husband in 1881, and her sister in 1884, Sarah left her hometown of New Haven, Connecticut to make a fresh start just outside of San Jose, California. Within just a few months, she had already added more than a dozen rooms onto her new home with the intention of accommodating her two little sisters and their families. For the next 38 years, reports claimed the property would be constantly under construction, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sarah designed all of the additions on her own despite having no formal training in construction, ended only upon her death and the mansion in September 1922, living it incomplete and her plans unfinished. What stands today is a 4-story, 160-room, 24,000 square foot mansion constructed mostly out of redwood on less than 5 remaining acres of land in one of the city's most heavily trafficked West Valley neighborhoods. The home has 2,000 doors, some leading straight into blank walls, 10,000 windows, some interior facing, 47 fireplaces, 17 chimneys, 40 stairways, at least one of which leads to the ceiling, 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 1 completed, 1 unfinished, 13 bathrooms, 6 kitchens, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and a wood-paneled dining room. There are gold and silver chandeliers, hand-inlaid, flawless antique floors, and many original stained glass windows, rumored to have been created by Tiffany at one point to the 1906 earthquake. The house stood 7 stories tall, but it was reduced likely due to the damage caused by the quake. In fact, after the quake, Sarah all but stopped work on the front wing of the house. Luckily, the home was spared total destruction during both the 1906 and 1989 earthquakes because it was built on a floating foundation, a design that allows the structure to move freely, and it's semi-attached to its base. Few people aside from household staff and teams of carpenters and other workmen were invited to the mansion during Sarah's lifetime, and very few, if any, interior photographs were taken. The furniture inside the home today reflects the period, but her personal belongings, including the contents of the house, were left to her niece, Marin Marriott, who kept what she wanted and sold the remainder at auction. It's a question people have asked ever since Sarah started construction. In order to make sense of this perceived monstrosity and what was then a rural community, rumors began to swirl about her motivations. According to folklore, Sarah was motivated to build a home with such odd features because a medium told her that the ghost of those killed by the Winchester rifle would haunt her until the day she died, unless she went out west to build a house with a room for all of them. Other versions of the story, perhaps Sarah was driven because she was being haunted in the family mansion in New Haven. Unfortunately for her, the ghost followed her to California, so she tried to outsmart them by building a rambling home with a triangle of hallways. Historians have never been able to corroborate the visit with the medium, and many of Sarah's longtime employees and friends denied the story both during and after her lifetime. And of course, the truth is likely a bit simpler. Sarah's father had been a carpenter during the height of the Victorian period, and so she grew up loving design and architecture. She later subscribed to many magazines and journals on the subjects and taught herself the craft. The rumors only grew after her death when the property sold at auction to a private investor for around $135,000. Today, that's worth just north of $2 million. It was then leased to John and Maine Brown for a 10-year period. The couple opened the house up to the public in 1923 and eventually bought the property, which is now owned by a privately held company that represents their descendants. The home was designated a historical landmark in 1974 and is listed in the National Registry of Historic Places. In September of 2019, one of the many mysteries of the Winchester House, as the National Registry of Historic Places refers to it, was solved during restoration work in one of its many dining rooms. According to the Times, union workers were removing parts of the wall when they noticed something peculiar: a beautiful preserved envelope tucked inside from 100 years ago, the Pacific American Decorative Company. This discovery confirms something that many historians had a hunch about: the true artisan who made its impeccable stained glass windows. Recently, architectural historian Jim Wolfe dug into the mystery of who actually created them, and he landed on the answer that it was actually glassworker John Mullen. Well, turns out Mullen owned Pacific American Decorative Company. Case closed. There's still a lot of mystery around the Winchester mystery home, and some say it's haunted. There's been a lot of paranormal investigations that have taken place there. Colby and Sam and Colby, however you want to say it, they have been there along with a lot of other paranormal investigators. It is extremely strange. If you ever watch videos on it, it is definitely worth the price of a ticket of admission if you ever get a chance to go check it out. Some of the doors lead nowhere. Some of the windows are just on the wall. The panes are just in the wall. There's no actual windows there. There's staircases, like I said, that one of them led just straight up to the ceiling. It's a mystery. There's a lot of history and stories behind it, such as, like what I described earlier, of a medium that told Sarah that if she ever stopped building the house, then she would die from the spirit. So she kept building, and it used to be way bigger, but 2 stories of it got destroyed in a disaster. So there's a lot of mystery that remains there, guys, but it's definitely something that if you're into paranormal, if you're not into paranormal and you just like kind of out there things, then the Winchester Mystery House could be for you.